Hello everyone, welcome to AFS Hackers. I'm Afshan, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the junior penetration tester learning path of TryHackMe. The first section of this junior penetration tester path is Introduction to Pen Testing, and in this section there are two rooms. The first one is Pentesting Fundamentals and the second one is Principles of Security. So let's start with the Pentesting Fundamentals. This room has 5 tasks. The first task is, what is penetration testing? Let's see. Before teaching you the technical hands-on aspect of ethical hacking, you will need to understand more about what a penetration tester's job responsibilities are and what process are followed in performing pen test, finding vulnerabilities in a client's application or system. The importance and relevancy of cybersecurity are ever increasing and can be in every walk of life. News headlines fill our screens reporting yet another hack or data leak. Cybersecurity is relevant to all the people in the modern world, including a strong password policy to protect your emails, or to business and other organizations needing to protect both devices and data from damage. Okay. A penetration test or pen test is an ethically driven attempt to test and analyze the security defenses to protect these assets and pieces of information. A penetration test involves using the same tools, techniques, and methodologies that someone with malicious intent would use and is similar to an audit. Okay, so according to Security Magazine, a cybersecurity industry magazine, there are over 2,200 cyber attacks every day. Every day, one attack every 39 seconds. So let's answer the question below. Read me. Yes, we have completed this task 1. Task 2 is penetration testing ethics. Let's see. The battle of legality and ethics in cybersecurity, let alone penetration testing, is always controversial. Labels like hacking and hacker often hold negative connotations, especially in pop cultures, thanks to those few bad apples. The idea of legally gaining access to a computer system is a challenging concept to grasp. After all, what makes it legal exactly? Okay. Recall that a penetration test is an authorized audit of a computer system's security and defenses are agreed by the owner of the system. The legality of penetration testing is pretty clear cut in this sense. Anything that falls outside of this agreement is deemed unauthorized. Before a penetration test starts, a formal discussion occurs between the penetration tester and the system owner. Various tools, techniques, and systems to be tested are agreed on. This discussion forms the scope of the penetration testing agreement and will determine the course the penetration test takes. If you are a bug hunter, you have already know what are the in scope and out of the scope forms in penetration testing agreement. So those concepts are applicable in penetration testing as well. Companies that provide penetration testing services are held against legal frameworks and industry accreditation. For example, the National Cybersecurity Center, or NCSC, has the check accreditation scheme in the UK. This check means that only check approved companies can conduct authorized penetration tests of public sector and CNI systems and networks. Okay, ethics is the moral debate between rights and wrong. Where an action may be legal, it may go against an individual's belief system of right and wrong. Penetration tester will often be faced with potentially morally questionable decision during a penetration test. For example, they are gaining access to a database and being presented with potentially sensitive data, or they are perhaps performing a phishing attack on an employee to test an organization human security. If that action has been agreed upon during the initial stages, it's a legal, however ethically questionable. Hackers are sorted into 3 hats, where their ethics and motivations behind their actions determine what hat category they are placed into. Let's cover these 3 in the table below. So there are 3 hats in hat category. The first hat is white hat hacker. These hackers are considered the good people. They remain within the law and use their skill to benefit others. Okay, example. A penetration tester performing an authorized agreement on a company. Second one is grey hat hacker. These people use their skills to benefit others often, however, they do not follow the law or ethical standard at all time. For example, someone taking down a scamming site. Last category is black hat hacker. These people are criminal and often seek to damage organizations or gain some form of financial benefit at the cost of others. For example, ransomware authors infect devices with malicious code and hold data for ransom. Okay. Next topic is rules of engagement or ROE. The ROE is a document that is created at the initial stage of a penetration testing engagement. This document consists of three main sections explained in a table below, which are ultimately responsible for deciding how the engagement is carried out. The SANS Institute has a great example of this document, which you can view online here. So we'll put this link in the description box so you guys can read more about this. It is a PDF actually. Okay. Section 1 is permission. This section of the document gives explicit permission for the engagement to be carried out. This permission is essential to legally protect individuals and organizations for the activities they carry out. Next section is test scope, like in scope and out of the scope section. This section of the document will annotate specific target to which the engagement should apply. For example, the penetration test may only apply to certain servers or application but not the entire network. Third section is rules. The rules section will define exactly the techniques that are permitted during the engagement. For example, the rule may specifically state that techniques such as phishing attacks are prohibited, but man-in-the-middle attacks are okay. So we need to follow the rules of this particular document, that is rules of engagement. So answer the question below. You are given permission to perform a security audit on an organization. What type of hacker would you be? So it is white hat hacker because we have permission here, right? Let's submit the answer. Okay, yes, it is correct. You attack an organization and steal their data. What type of hacker would you be? So it is black hat hacker. Let's submit the answer. Okay. What document define how a penetration testing engagement should be carried out? Rules of engagement. This one. Let's submit the answer. Okay. Task 3 is penetration testing methodologies. Let's see. Okay. Penetration test can have a wide variety of objectives and targets within scope. Because of this, no penetration test is the same, and there are no one case fits all as to how a penetration tester should approach it. The steps a penetration tester takes during an engagement is known as the methodology. A practical methodology is a smart one where the steps taken are relevant to the situation at hand. For example, having a methodology that you would use to test the security of a web application is not practical when you have to test the security of a network. Before discussing some different industry standard methodologies, we should note that all of them have a general theme of the following stages. Okay, the first stage is information gathering. This stage involves collecting as much as publicly accessible information about a target or organization as possible. For example, open source intelligence and research. Note, this does not involve scanning any system. Next one is enumeration and scanning. This stage involves discovering applications and services running on the system. For example, finding a web server that may be potentially vulnerable. Third stage is exploitation. This stage involves leveraging vulnerabilities discovered on a system or application. This stage can involve the use of public exploits or exploiting application logics. Next stage is privilege escalation. Once you have successfully exploited a system or application known as a foothold, this stage is the attempt to expand your access to a system. You can escalate horizontally and vertically, where horizontally is accessing another account of the same permission group, that is another user, whereas vertically is that of another permission group, is an administrator group. Okay, post exploitation. This stage involves a few sub-stages. The first stage would be what other host can be targeted. Next is, what additional information can we gather from the host now that we are a privileged user, covering your tracks and reporting. Okay, let's see the first methodology, that is OSSTMM, which is stand for the Open Source Security Testing Methodology Manual. Provide a detailed framework of testing strategies for systems, softwares, applications, communications, and the human aspect of cybersecurity. The methodology focuses primarily on how these systems, applications communicate. So it includes a methodology for telecommunication, that is phones and voice over internet protocol, etc. Second is wired network. Third is wireless communication. Let's see the advantages and disadvantages of this methodology. Advantages are, covers various testing strategies in depth, include testing strategies for specific targets such as telecommunication and networking. The framework is flexible depending upon the organization's need. The framework is meant to set a standard for systems and applications, meaning that a universal methodology can be used in a penetration testing scenario. Disadvantages are, the framework is difficult to understand, very detailed, and tends to use unique definitions. Next framework is OWASP. It is my favorite. The OWASP stand for the Open Web Application Security Project. Framework is a community-driven and frequently updated framework used solely to test the security of web applications and services. The foundation regularly writes a report stating the top 10 security vulnerabilities a web application may have, the testing approach, and remediation. So, advantages of OWASP are easy to pick up and understand, actively maintain, and is frequently updated. It covers all stages of an engagement from testing to reporting and remediation, specialize in web applications and services. Disadvantages of OWASP are, it may not be clear what type of vulnerability a web applications has. They can often overlap. OWASP does not make suggestion to any specific software development lifecycle. The framework does not hold any accreditation such as check. The NIST cybersecurity framework is a popular framework used to improve an organization's security standards and manage the risk of cyber threats. This framework is a bit of an honorable mention because of its popularity and details. The framework provides guidelines on security control and benchmark for success for organizations from critical infrastructure, that is power plant, etc., all through to commercial. There is a limited section on standard guideline for the methodology a penetration tester should take. So advantages of NIST frameworks are, the NIST framework is estimated to be used by 50% of American organizations by 2020. The framework is extremely detailed in setting standard to help organizations mitigate the threat posed by cyber threats. The framework is very frequently updated. NIST provides accreditation for organizations that use this framework. The NIST framework is designed to be implemented alongside other frameworks. Disadvantages of NIST frameworks are, NIST has many iterations of frameworks, so it may be difficult to decide which one applies to your organization. The NIST framework has weak auditing policies, making it difficult to determine how a breach occurred. The framework does not consider cloud computing, which is quickly becoming increasingly popular for organizations. Okay, next framework is the Cyber Assessment Framework, or SAF, is an extensive framework of 14 principles used to assess the risk of various cyber threats and an organization defense against these. The framework applies to organizations considered to perform vitally important services and activities, such as critical infrastructure, banking, and the likes. The framework mainly focuses on and assess the following topics. The first topic is data security, system security, identity and access control, resiliency, monitoring, and response and recovery plan. Advantages and disadvantages of SAF. So let's see the advantages of SAF. This framework is backed by a government cybersecurity agency. This framework provides accreditation. This framework covers 14 principles which range from security to response. Disadvantages are, the framework is still new in the industry, meaning that organizations haven't had much time to make the necessary changes to be suitable for it. The framework is based on principle and ideas and is not as direct as having rules like some other frameworks. Okay, let's see. Answer the question below. What stage of penetration testing involves using publicly available information? That is information gathering. Let's copy information gathering. Let's submit the answer. If you wanted to use a framework for pen testing telecommunications, what framework would you use? Note, we are looking for the acronym here and not the full name, sorry. That is OSSTMM, that is Open Source Security Testing Methodology Manual. Let's copy it and paste it here. Let's submit the answer. Yes, it is correct. What framework focus on the testing of web application? That is OWASP. OWASP. Submit the answer. Yes, it is correct. Let's see the task 4. That is black box, white box, gray box penetration testing. Okay, so let's see. There are 3 primary scopes when testing an application or service. Your understanding of your target will determine the level of testing that you perform in your penetration testing engagement. In this task, we will cover these 3 different scopes of testing. The first testing is the black box testing. This testing process is a high-level process where the tester is not given any information about the inner working of the application or service. The tester acts as a regular user testing the functionality and interaction of the application or piece of software. This testing can involve interacting with the interface, that is buttons, and testing to see whether the intended result is returned. No knowledge of programming or understanding of the program is necessary for this type of testing. Black box testing significantly increases the amount of time spent during the information gathering and enumeration phase to understand the attack surface of the target. Gray box testing. This testing process is the most popular for things such as penetration testing. It is combination of both black box and white box testing processes. The tester will have some limited knowledge of the internal components of the application or piece of software. Still, it will be interacting with the application as if it were a black box scenario and then using their knowledge of the application to try and resolve issues as they find them. With gray box testing, the limited knowledge given saves time and is often chosen for extremely well-hardened attack surfaces. White box testing. This testing process is a low-level process usually done by a software developer who knows programming and application logic. The tester will be testing the internal components of the application or a piece of software, and for example, ensuring that specific function work correctly and within a reasonable amount of time. The tester will have full knowledge of the application and its expected behavior and is much more time consuming than black box testing. The full knowledge in a white box testing scenario provides a testing approach that guarantees the entire attack surface can be validated. Answer the question below. You are asked to test an application but are not given access to its source code. What testing process is it? That is black box testing process. Black box. Let's submit the answer. Yes, it is correct. You are asked to test a website and you are given access to the source code. What testing process is this? That is white box testing. White box. Because we have the access of the source code. Task 5 is a practical ACME penetration test. So ACME has approached you for an assignment. They want you to carry out the stages of penetration test on their infrastructure. View the site by clicking the green button on this task and follow the guided instruction to complete this exercise. Okay, let's see. Okay, rules of engagement or ROE. It is a documentation. Let's go through the stages of a penetration test assignment for the ACME company. This stage of the penetration test is where you define 3 primary objectives. Cycle through the tabs below to explore these. The first section is permission. For a penetration test to be ethical and legal, both parties, the company wanting to test their application for vulnerabilities and the company conducting the pen test, will sign a document given clear permission for the intended action. Next section is test scope. The test scope will define what targets or environments are being tested against. The client may only want you to test part of their application and not their entire network. Third section is rules. The rules define the type of behavior a penetration tester will employ. For example, you may only have access to a part of an application and not the entire server that hosts it. Okay. Rules of engagement. Like, we have a permission to perform the penetration test and we have put you on this one. The client has sent a statement of the work and scoping document which is attached to this email. Please use this to begin the engagement. Thanks, Ben. Okay, this is the mail we have got, and this pen test engagement document they have given to us. Let's see the next. Okay, information gathering. The information gathering stage of an engagement is often undervalued. This stage involved using publicly accessible channel to collect intelligence on your target. Abby, who has a public profile on LinkedIn, advertises that she works for ACME and even included her email in her bio, which is a possible way we can target her work laptop and thus the company. This is the Abby's LinkedIn profile and this is her email address, that work email address. Okay, let's see the next. Enumeration and scanning. The goal of this stage is to get a complete picture of your target. A penetration tester will try to identify your accounts, machines on the network shares, application, etc. Information gathered from stage 2 and the engagement scope document will help in enumerating your target. The enumeration phase is very important as your findings are used to exploit your target system. That is stage 4. Okay, let's pretend Abby from stage 2 made a post on LinkedIn sharing a blog post she wrote about ACME. From this post, you find ACME web server IP address, that is 96.37.50.151. Try scanning it. Okay, let's copy it and paste it here and let's scan the target. Stating vulnerability scan for this IP address, that is ACME IP address. Service is vulnerable to web, yes. Login, no. Okay, let's see. Next, exploitation stage involves the knowledge from your enumeration to now identify and exploit vulnerabilities in any of the application that are in scope. For example, we enumerated ACME's website in stage 3 and found that it was vulnerable. We would now exploit this vulnerability, thus ethically hacking ACME's website. Exploitation is the use of the vulnerability discovered to gain unauthorized access to an information security system or data. Exploit running as background job started reverse TCP handler on 127.0.0.1. This is the port number, and starting the payload sending stage, and the Meterpreter session is open like this. We have also seen this in our Hack the Box series. Let's see next. Post-exploitation. The post-exploitation stage starts when you have gained unauthorized access to a system. At this stage of the engagement, your main goal will be to maintain access to the system and escalate your privilege within the system to a super user or administrator user. Systems are usually set up with normal users that don't have access to various sensitive files and functions. Gaining access to higher privileged users such as administrator will allow you to perform actions that you wouldn't be able to as a normal user, such as reading sensitive files and gaining access to all programs within a system. After doing this, you will be extracting sensitive information from the system and attacking other components in the network. In the environment. Example, if the system is a part of a network, you will attempt to gain access to other machines in the network. Like, these are the administrator and this is a lower privilege user. Let's see the next instruction. The last stage is pentest report and clearing up. This stage usually occurs at the end of the penetration test. As a penetration tester, you will have to explain the result of your engagement to the client. This is usually done in the form of a report that contains detail regarding any sensitive issues you have found and how to mitigate them. The client will use this report to understand the security issues and fix the flaws in the technology stack that was tested. It is also best practice to clean up the environment you have been testing where possible. For example, if you were provided access to machine or tooling by the client, you need to delete any artifact that have been created as a result of testing. Okay, so we have got the flag, pen test complete. Let's copy it, and this is the message that thank you for sending over your report. I still can't believe you managed to find several critical vulnerabilities in our application. I can also confirm we have removed the high privilege user account you managed to create. Thanks again. Okay, so let's copy the flag and paste it here. Submit the answer. Okay, it is correct, and we have successfully completed this Pentesting Fundamentals. So I hope you like the video, guys. If you did that, share this video with your friends and colleagues, and yes, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We'll see you in my next video. Till then, take care and keep hacking.